What I can also see often is that people are mixing up field parameters with slicers, because now you could say, oh, this looks like a slicer, but it is not, because what you can do with a slicer is you can filter down, for example, the product category. If you are working with the field parameters as shown before, you are switching between columns, and this is the main difference between the two of them. So today I want to talk with you about field parameters and show you what you can do with them, because in my opinion they are pretty useful and sometimes underrated, because people tend to work with disconnected tables, while it can be so easy working with field parameters instead of building up a disconnected table. So let's jump into Power BI and I will show you how it works. So here we are in Power BI now, and I have prepared for you two visuals. One with the sum of sales during the months. From a visual point of view, you can do many changes to make it look better, but this is not the content of the video today. And here we have a bar chart also showing the product category and the sum of sales. And what happens often now is that you want to see here not only the product category, but for example, let's say the region. And if you do not want to use a bookmark, there is no possibility for you to change that unless you are using field parameters. And so I will show you now what you can do. You can go to the modeling tab, go to the new parameter, click on fields, and then we will name that region and category. And then you can drag in here the fields you need. So we will go into this table, or you can search one times for region and the other time for the product category. And this will also be the order in the slicer you will get, because if you click on create, you will get a slicer on the page for that. And the first field in the slicer will be the region. The second one will be the product category. So we will click on create. And you can see here now that you also got this slicer where you can choose the region or the product category. At the moment, nothing is happening because the parameter we created is not used in any of these visuals. So the first thing we will do is we will go back to this visual, delete here the product category, and drag in the region and the category parameter we created. And now you can already see that you can switch between these two, so the product category and the region. What I can also see often is that people are mixing up field parameters with slicers, because now you could say, oh, this looks like a slicer, but it is not, because what you can do with a slicer is you can filter down, for example, the product category. I will show you this in this table. So here, because you see you have electronics, furniture, clothing, and so on. So if you put a slicer, a regular one, on the page, you can filter down the rows. If you are working with the field parameters as shown before, you are switching between columns, and this is the main difference between the two of them. So if we go back here, you can see again that you can, with this slicer, switch between the columns. The next thing you can do also is, now we have here the sum of sales, but maybe you want to see the profit, so you can do the same again with the profit. So we go to the modeling tab, go to new parameter, fields, and name it profit and sales, profit. And then you can select here the sales and the profit. You will also get the slicer where you can switch between the two of them. And what you can do here now is also you can go back to this visual again, can delete here the sum of sales and drag in sales and profit. And then you can change also here in this visual between sales and profit. And this is pretty awesome, because now you can enable the user to choose what he or she really wants to see. And the same can be done in this chart. So at the moment we are seeing the sum of the sales and the months. And so I will delete first here the sum of the sales and drag in this parameter. And here you can also see again that one times you have the sum of the sales and the sum of the profit. And the great thing is that also the title is changing, because the title, if you do not change it, refers to this parameter. What you can do also now is you can read out what this parameter is giving you, and create conditional formatting on top of these charts. And I will show you now how we will do that. So if we have a closer look at this parameter now, you can see that this parameter is called sum of days. It's the name of this measure, and it's sum of profit, and also the name of this measure. This is 0, so this is the first one, and this is 1, so it's the second one. What I do not like here first is I will change the names. And then you can see that this is called sales and profit, which is much better now. And now we will try to read out the names we have in here by creating a measure. So we will create a new measure. We will say its title, and then we will say it's the selected value of the sales profit. And we want to have the fields, and then we will drag this in, and we will make a text field out of it, and then you can say it's now saying KPI code 3, the sum of the profit. So you can see that the field is giving you this part, the name of. And this is often a little bit tricky because you have to remember so much. So I like to read out the first one and the first one. And now I will show you a better way, because this name is really hard to remember often, and it's clever to do it in another way. So we will go back to the title. We will change that to select columns. We will choose the sales profit parameter. We can give it a name like slicer 1, and we will read out the sales profit parameter, and then you will see you get a much better name like the profit. And now you can say if selected columns from this parameter is profit, you want to have as a title sum of profit, and otherwise we will say sum of sales, and we will drag this into the title of the measure. So we will need the title here, and now you can see it's saying sum of profit. If you change it, it will say sum of sales. And the great thing is you can also use this for the color change. So if we copy this now, you can also say, for example, new measure, Control V, the color change, and you can say if the slicer says profit, you want to have, let's say, a black, and otherwise you want to have, we need to look it up, you want to have this green. So you can copy this over, copy it in here, return, and if you put this here into the conditional formatting, we go to field value, to the color, change, and you will see that the colors are also changing depending on what you are choosing here. So I think this is pretty nice because you can change the charts immediately without having to fiddle around with bookmarks. So I hope you liked the video, and I could show you also the difference between using a slicer and to filter down the rows, and using a field parameter to switch between columns. I think it is pretty useful. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, and hope to see you soon. Bye bye.